So everybody is chiming into this Xbox hardware sales. The only thing is, nobody actually really knows Xbox's hardware sales numbers. There are conversations and there are arguments across the board as to which particular, sales numbers are we going to go with, which estimates are we going to go with. There's Rockstar who gave an estimate, there's AMD who threw out a random number, and then there's also financial statements from Microsoft that some individuals have been able to pull some data out from. Now, when it's all said and done, I have to say that the most credible way that you can actually deduce it, in my opinion, is what the YouTuber Welfare did, where they pretty much took some time to analyze all of the different financial statements from Microsoft, and they got their hands on the exact same estimate that Rockstar used. So those estimates are also in question because they're from an analytical firm as well. But if those estimates don't match up with what the analysts are saying, then I think you have like a disparity. At the end of the day, though, it's not really a big deal in terms of what, PlayStation would be doing or in terms of what Xbox would be bothering about, because these businesses have already solidified their own business strategy in this particular console space. Already, we know, PlayStation already knows that their main business driver is console sales. They have to sell consoles. They cannot afford to not sell consoles. Xbox, on the other hand, understands that their business is bigger than consoles. Even PlayStation understands that their business is bigger than consoles. I mean, when PlayStation was doing a threat analysis to how the acquisition of Activision impact Blizzard would impact them, they pretty much pointed it out. They've said this to everybody. Well, it wasn't supposed to go to everybody, but they said it that, their multi-game business, being subscription, console, and PC, gives them an edge that you can't necessarily, in a sense, ignore, because they've basically put their own company, which is Sony's pillars, already dated and behind the competition. Sony is pretty much putting all its eggs in one basket, and God forbid, should that basket have any issues, it's a challenge. Another thing too is the gaming conversation is much more interested in you publishing your games a specific way for you to be deemed the winner, that if you change business strategies or you pivot, you're basically considered a loser in the eyes of armchair CEOs that are all over the internet. So again, you also have to consider where we're looking at all this information from. One of my audience members messaged me and said, GameRanks did a video on Xbox's hardware. And they said, hey man, do you want to take a look at this video? And honestly, shout out to Young C. That's who actually put this comment out here. You said, VG, GameRanks has a new video about Xbox consoles. It's crazy because Xbox is doing well currently and PlayStation is in shambles, yet no one talks about it. Now, I'll give context for what he said here. Xbox is doing well. The overall gaming business shrunk by 7%, but it didn't change their overall margin or their overall revenue. I hope y'all read that part of the financial report. Did y'all read it? Okay. You went with what your YouTubers and your podcasters said. You should have read the financial report yourself. However, PlayStation is canceling games left and right, in delaying games left and right. So we know that there is probably a problem here in terms of delivering games. Think about it. So yes, they're selling consoles. That's good for them. But at the end of the day, in terms of bringing games to their communities and their audiences, they are depending on third-party games, right? So pretty much, he said, and talked about this particular, paradigm. And I said, you know what, let me go check out this video from GameRanks. Now, this video, I think, is done by Ryan Pereno. He is the gentleman who wrote that article about Marvel's Spider-Man being the buggiest game to receive universal acclaim. And then he deleted it, which is crazy because that video actually was very well. I said that video, that article, sorry. Did I say a video? It was an article. Was very well, thought out because there were bugs in Marvel Spider-Man 2, which I made a video that I titled Xbox Tax in Motion. So in this video of his, having watched like the very first few minutes of the video, I was already surprised and at the same time not surprised, because once you hear what he's about to say, you're going to see how this whole thing ends really fast. Ready?
In the last couple months. I mean, sure, it's easy to like Xbox games.
You gotta hear the beginning.
It's been hard to be an Xbox fan the last couple months.
The only reason you may think it's hard to be an Xbox fan nowadays is because the whole thing is a construct that's been created by the media. The games media need this construct of being a fan of the console means that these are the requirements that console maker must meet. So therefore, If the console maker is not meeting that, then hence it's hard for you to be a fan of, you know, said platform. Even though one platform is basically canceling games, not providing games, which should be the main metric of a console publisher and a console owner. But no, 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 because it's still selling, raw consoles, no games. It's easy to be a PlayStation fan. You already see the base of the premise. You already see what's going on here. I mean, I'm just saying, and I'm not saying Ryan Perino is biased. I'm just saying that everything is built around a framework and a worldview that visualizes the gaming conversation from that perspective.
I mean, sure, it's easy to like Xbox games. Black Ops 6 ended up being a fun time. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle was excellent. Game Pass, still a real solid value proposition no matter how you slice it. The Microsoft Games division is overall doing pretty well for itself, with gaming revenue up by 43%.
So what's the problem? Oh, Xbox consoles. I almost forgot. You would have listened to that video and been like, so what's the issue? Oh, well, but the consoles are not selling as well as the other console. Now, here where he gives away every single issue with the gaming industry. Get your popcorn, get your soda, your drink, everything, lean in. Okay, you ready? Go.
Still, the vast majority of that revenue is coming from games that come out on other platforms. Or like with Black Ops 6, where it made much more on PlayStation than Xbox consoles. But hey, revenue's revenue, right? The weird thing about the current moment...
You hear that? He said, but all that, you heard the voice, but it's just not good enough because...
Revenue is coming from games. The vast majority of that revenue is coming from games that come out on other platforms.
It just comes from games that comes from other platforms. Did y'all hear the intonation? Now let's look at PlayStation's financials and let's see if we can categorize that. PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 4 software combined sold 95 million units during the 3 month ending December 31st, 2024, which is up 6.2 million from 89.7 million software sold during the same period the previous fiscal year. 11.6 million units were first party titles, which is down from 4.6 million units. So you mean to tell me that PlayStation, making majority of its income and a majority of its revenue from third-party games comparing to first-party games, is fine. But Xbox, making majority of its revenue from external sources, of which third-party games, wouldn't they be external sources? But revenue is revenue though, right? This is where we have a big disconnect between how business is done and how console wars are fought. Because in business world, any sound investor is looking at both businesses and asking themselves, where is the value for me? Right? Now, in gaming world, if reality was actually allowed to persist, where are the games should be the question that we're asking. Xbox is delivering the games. PlayStation needs to deliver the games. Because we already all knew that Xbox's console sales would only match Xbox One for the most part, with the delta to the negative or to the positive. And like I said, because of the argument back and forth, we can't really tell exactly where the numbers are, but we can get a window. My window is 30 million units to 34 million units. It's a window. I mean, those 4 units might as well just be sitting on shelves, and it may just be 30 million working. You know what I mean? Like it's a window. But at the end of the day, the most critical piece of this is both of these platforms rely on external sources for a major piece of their revenue. Of which, really though, if PlayStation's software is generating the revenue for them, if Xbox's, software is generating majority of their revenue, and PlayStation's hardware is generating or being the agency to generate most of their revenue, inherently, what makes one business model superior to the other? Nothing. Do you understand what I mean? Like, both business models are viable, profitable, bringing in bag and bread for the developers to eat. Let's go back and listen to the first few seconds of the video again. Because with a little bit of understanding, I think we can see something really strange here. Look at this.
Ended up being a fun time. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle was excellent. Game Pass, still a real solid value proposition no matter how you slice it. The Microsoft Games division is overall doing pretty well for itself, with gaming revenue up by 43%. Still, the vast majority of that revenue is coming from games that come out on other platforms.
The vast majority of that revenue is coming from games that come from other platforms. Okay, so what? Good job, PlayStation. Good job, Xbox, for getting the bag. You know what I mean? Like, imagine if Steam had to generate all that revenue by itself, right? You know what I mean? Imagine if Epic Games had to generate all their revenue from just Fortnite, right? You know what I mean? Like, can you imagine if external sources dare to make you majority of your revenue? Can you imagine the sin? Can you imagine the abomination? This is why console wars are brain dead and economics is better. This is why you should feed your children basic economics, basic math, basic, financial matters, basic rules of commerce, so that they can understand just what humans need to thrive. It's just that simple. I'm not saying anything against this, person, but I'm talking, you see, they're playing to the, to the bandwagon. I guarantee you, we pop the comment section open, I'll never understand how the name Xbox Series X made it more than 5 minutes in the boardroom meeting. That's literally, this is going with the flow. A video like mine is going against the grain. You know what I mean? Like, I'm making a video pushing against the grain when I say the things that I say. So it's not hard to make a video like this is gonna roll in, the views. 120,000 views in 6 hours. Goodness gracious. Huh? But let's keep listening, though, for the sake of, I'll try my best to listen as much as I can.
Or like with Black Ops 6, where it made much more on PlayStation than Xbox can.
You know that. You hear that. Do you hear that, though? It made more on PlayStation than Xbox. Do y'all remember, though, that there was one side of the faction that said that this game was going to basically end up being more in the black for PlayStation than it would be for Xbox? Remember the gamesindustry.biz article that pointed to that? But now the reverse happened, but it's not really that big of a deal. Somebody said my laugh was annoying in the comment section. That was funny. I actually laughed at that. I wish I had recorded that laugh for you. You can use it as your text message tone or something.
Revenue's revenue, right? The weird thing about the current
revenue, right? Oh my gosh. As a soccer fan, I like the game, right? I think I just saw Liverpool. This NBC Sports, Liverpool just basically is level. I like Liverpool. One of my favorite English teams. We say a goal is a goal. And when we say that, we say it in, the most flattering way. The way like, hey, man, you got the ball in. Like what's his name the other day? Luis Diaz. The goal that one of his, I think, against Wolves, where he literally basically like bellied the ball in. Great goal. Right? I was happy. I was like, yes. Ball's at the back of the net. Who cares? You know what I mean?
Moment is that if you just like good games, it's kind of great. There's some great games coming up. But if you're watching the industry, then it kind of feels like the sky is falling, especially if you're a hardcore Xbox fan.
Why should a hardcore Xbox fan? Why should a hardcore Xbox fan be in any sense tied to an Xbox console? Why should that define who you are? Should the games not be your primary objective as to why you came to the console? Because I guarantee you, when you're playing a game, you're not looking at the box. Your eyes don't see the box. It sees the game. When you're playing a game, your hand's on the controller. Your hand's not on the box. It's on the controller playing the game. You really have to go ahead and rethink how they want to redefine this entire conversation to suit a narrative that's going to punch out more videos to foment and, fan the flames of this war. Bro, it's 14 minutes. I'm not even a minute into this video. Guys, I don't think we can do this, man, because this is like the same old rinse and repeat. I may have to do a dedicated video dedicated to watching this whole video because an hour? Goodness, I got stuff to do.
Folks, it's Falcon, and today on Game Ranks, we're asking what the hell is going on
Oh,
with
this is Falcon.
Xbox?
This might not be Ryan Perino. I'm sorry. I thought it was Ryan. Okay, and maybe I don't know. I don't know who's Falcon. When they write, they use their names, but in that article, it's Ryan Perino. Is Ryan Perino Falcon? Maybe I don't know.
So I want to go ahead and say, we've asked this question before. Last year we made a video, I think kind of questioning whether or not the Xbox was safe, but now I think it's right to ask a little bit more serious of questions. The most alarming headline recently is that 2024 was kind of the worst year in terms of hardware sales for the entire history of Xbox. In 2024, the Series X/S have only sold 2.7 million units.
That is an estimate that everybody is getting. So here's it. Game Ranks, you guys are saying that it's only sold this much, but other YouTubers, other analysts, or people that are getting into the conversation, like Welfare, Derek Strickland, and so on and so forth, are pointing out that this 2.7 million units is actually an estimate that was put together by games journalists who cited an analytical firm who Rockstar cited to give that number. So this number that Ryan Perino is citing is under a lot of scrutiny, if you get what I mean. Now, nobody is saying that their console sales are great, but at the same time, the picture that is being painted is really weird. And I hate the Xbox console, and I have to come out and actually say, but we have to be objective about what the truth is. Like, I can stand it. Remember when I told you all that after Gotham Knights, I was like, I'm done. I'm not. I used to entertain the fact that, get a console, a home device, and all. But after Gotham Knights, I was like, nah, my hands are. I'm washing my hands off of this console thing. They're locked ecosystems, and they overhype the hardware capabilities and all that. But the games are still the main thing because I still play on consoles. Don't get me wrong. You know what I mean? Like, I still will play on consoles. Like I told you on my Division Clan, we're getting back into some content pretty soon. And I'm going to go play on PlayStation. That's where I play most of my games, on console.
Total, the whole year. European sales even worse. There were only 290,000 units sold in all of Europe. It's an understatement to simply say yikes.
I didn't hear that.
In November, PS5s outsold the Xbox Series consoles 5-1. It's even worse if you restrict it to either S or X. But these are just numbers. They don't fully illustrate what's going on. So what is going on? Well, all right. I know this is a cliche, but it's complicated, all right? Right now, the Microsoft gaming division, along with the entire gaming landscape, honestly, is in a period of major transition. There is a whole lot of uncertainty in the gaming world right now. Developers and publishers that used to dominate the scene are struggling hard. Ubisoft had a terrible year in 2024. Electronic Arts, same boat. And just a few years ago, it would be laughable to suggest that EA or Ubisoft could go bankrupt.
No.
Or
Everybody already, if you were looking at the market, if you followed trends, which is the job of all of you that chime in, by the way, many of you have been chiming into this stuff for many years. You've enjoyed growth. You've enjoyed audiences. You've enjoyed progress in many ways doing this. This was y'all's job. Y'all waited for, everybody else to come in and do the heavy lifting for you by pulling data all day, every day. You waited for the school teacher and the random guy that's sitting in a little corner. You waited for guys like, oh no, it's Alex, that actually comes in with a more comedic style. You waited for people to come in and actually pull receipts before now y'all got serious. This is the ailment of the gaming talking head issue. If the other side, if the fringes of the whole community, made up of all kinds of people, by the way, people on PlayStation, PC, and all, if we did not come in and start talking about this stuff, it would have been left to just some random console war BS back and forth. Sorry to say.
get sold off to some other company for parts, but that's where we are right now.
I have to be honest. Ubisoft, I would not have believed it. Why? Because I wasn't looking at the data, honestly. But believe you me, there was a gentleman, or there is a gentleman, shout out to him. He plays the Division. He used to inbox me all the time and DM me and say, dude, Ubisoft is in trouble. He'd been telling me that for like 3 years. And I was like, dude, there's no way. Xyz the Stars. That's his Ubisoft name and Twitter name. And our DMs were very revealing about what he thought about at the time. What, Ubisoft was going through. I remember when he would say, dude, Ubisoft is in trouble. This was years ago. So if somebody like him, who is basically, a PC nerd, he loves to build like these very high-end, beautiful PCs. Like, yo, it's insane. Right? If somebody like him could have noticed, then what has happened to the analysts all these years? This is why Duck Dark called all these PlayStation. I'm not talking about you, Game Ranks guy. I'm just saying, but this is why Duck Dark called all these PlayStation talking heads out to their faces. Because when it came down to it, right? Many of them just didn't inform their audiences properly. Oh my goodness. They basically went ahead and just ignored everything. And by the way, he's changed his name. And I want to give a shout out to you, bro. I mean, I hope you're not against me putting you out there like that. But he had an ear to the gaming industry. Loves to do tech stuff, talks about builds, talks about all kinds of stuff, but he used to tell me all the time, pay very close attention, kid. Pay very close attention. Ubisoft is in trouble. I can't show you our DMs. Get the heck out of here. So this is exactly what it is that we're talking about. So again, for him to say if it's laughable for you to have thought that this was a thing, no, it was you guys' job to look at the market differently, I think, and look at it from a data-driven perspective.
Xbox, in comparison, has kind of always been on the knife's edge, no matter how well they've been doing. Their most successful console, the Xbox 360, had the whole red ring of death.
I don't have time to do all this. I don't have time. I really don't. I'm not gonna. You know what? If I would even sit here and do something like this, I'd rather basically be the progenitor of what's going on in the market. This is why I've come at all parties, ladies and gentlemen, with data, with all that I can bring to the conversation. In fact, I'm now reading economics publications and textbooks on the channel just so that we can get some sense as to what's going on and then not be so surprised. Why is everybody so surprised that Xbox has transformed its business in this so-called transition period? People are calling it a transition period, but my dude, it's been transitioning for like 8 years now. Technology has been basically catching up and kicking in, and many people did not bother to see what was going on. This is why these videos that come out to come and give the Surprise Pikachu face levels of, conversations to me are like, what? So again, at the end of the day, man, I just don't know, man. I've already seen it all. I mean, as much as I want to say it, and as much as I want to sit here for 16 minutes of this video and then do a 1 hour coverage, I am just not interested for people who have been in the industry talking about video games for such a long time to come and now sit here and act surprised and act concerned when trends and data and evidence and everything was right in their face, but it was much more expedient to write sensational headlines that drove engagement and growth, only to now come back when the reality is here and say, but how did we get here? Where we're seeing that PlayStation, Xbox, according to you, in games is doing phenomenally well, something that they suffered from a while ago, to now, oh, well, their hardware though, but they're making, they're doing great. So, talk to me in the comment section, folks. Like I said, man, just play games. Thanks for watching. Peace out.